and this year they're not, and those are pretty good tennis schools locally. But for them to be back, against 4A competition, which arguably is a little bit tougher once you get to the playoffs, it's pretty impressive for them to be back there again.
Absolutely. They've got a tough task ahead of them as they play number 2 McIntosh next week, and so that'll be a tough one, but hopefully they can keep their solid play going. And John Carroll's back with us. John, you got something? You look like you want to ask Chris something, so shoot.
Hey, Chris, this is John Carroll. Enjoy reading your stuff in the Ledger, man. You do a great job for the paper.
Thanks, John.
Hey, I just want to ask you about this Columbus High team. I went out and watched some play, and I was talking to one of the parents, and I know they're the defending state champions, but they have 4 losses, I believe. And somebody was telling me, I believe it was one of the parents who was questioning their toughness, that maybe they're a little soft and they don't have what it takes to go all the way this year. Have you seen any of that?
Well, I haven't covered a Columbus game yet. I've been out to some practices, and I covered them a lot last year, so I'm pretty familiar with the kids that returned this year. And I guess it's always hard to say, when you split teams up kind of in these classifications. Sometimes, teams like Columbus, there aren't always a lot of teams that, locally, maybe in this corner in their classification, that are going to be really, really great tests. But if you look at Columbus's schedule, I think they went out of their way to schedule some pretty tough teams. They've played a handful of top 10 teams, even in bigger classifications from the GHSA this year. They went to Jacksonville a month or 2 ago to play in a big kind of a spring break tournament, I think it was. And they played a team from Florida that was, I think, ranked at the time number 1 in the country and was last year's, Baseball America national champion. So I think that was one of their losses. And I think one of the other losses they've had was against a top 10 team. I can't remember who it was, but I think they recently beat them again. So, I mean, Columbus is, I think they've gone out of their way to schedule some pretty tough teams. I don't know what they look like against those top teams, but as far as, kind of the competition they've faced, no one's in the playoffs before the playoffs start, but, they've scheduled some playoff teams, certainly, that they've already beaten and proven they could do that. So you've got to imagine Columbus is that they've already been challenged.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you going to the Marist game on Friday?
No, I won't. On Friday, I believe I will be possibly covering Russell County baseball again.
Okay, well, because that's going to be a great game. Columbus High School and Marist are playing out of Atlanta, are playing the baseball Friday, and that's a great rivalry. You got 2 great baseball programs going against each other. Marist has won a ton of state championships, as has Columbus High School, and I'll be out there Friday. I can't wait to see that game. They're playing here in Columbus.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. And like I said, obviously Columbus goes out of their way to schedule teams like that. There aren't a lot of, a lot of teams that would necessarily go out on a limb to find the toughest teams they can get and schedule them, the week before the postseason starts. So obviously Columbus is going out of their way to schedule these teams all year long and leading up to this. So yeah, I think they've seen some challenges.
And you've got some other teams in baseball that are trying to keep themselves alive. I know Northside, I talked to Coach David Smart last night out at Northside, just saw him briefly, and those guys are playing at Lee County in the region playoffs either tomorrow or Friday. And if they win, they keep playing. If they lose, their season ends. So the Patriots over there got their backs against the wall, and they know what they've got to do, and they've been playing a little bit better of late. And so they're another team here in Columbus that has got some quality baseball players on it. They're just looking maybe to gel at the right time and maybe make a run at the postseason. So are there any other teams that are in possibly the same kind of boat as Northside that are kind of trying to stay alive right now and maybe make the playoff field?
I think a lot of the regions locally have it kind of shaken out where they, they've either got the one game coming up where they seed them based on their final games, which I believe wrap up Friday. So I'm not totally sure on how all the final standings will shake out, but there's some that are in tough regions. I think Brookstone's still playing pretty well. Like I said, Northside, they've picked it up considerably compared to the way they started the season. It looked like they might have a down year, but I don't know what their record is right off the top of my head, but they've definitely turned it around in the second half of the season and gotten on the right track. So they're certainly going into that game against Lee County. I'm sure they feel like they can win, and it'll be a good game. And certainly wouldn't be surprised to see them win and do well in the playoffs. They've been there the last few years. I think they've reached as high as the quarterfinals a couple of times. So, David Smart has a pretty good idea what it takes to coach a team, beyond that level and into deep into the playoffs. So I'm sure he's got his guys pretty ready, and obviously, like I said, they've been playing well. So you got to imagine they've got what it takes to finish that out the right way.
Chris, this is John. Have you seen Glenwood play this year?
I have not covered a game. I've been out to a bunch of practices. I was just out there actually today, talking to them for a story for tomorrow's paper. I know they talked a little bit about they had a couple of losses last week, and they managed to drop the chance to win the region championship. But they're as prepared as ever. Some of the players told me, and part of my story for tomorrow's paper is about the players are really upset with how those games unfolded, and they called on Monday morning. They had a 6:30 a.m. players only practice and a meeting, and they went out there and they said they had some fun and kind of bonded, and they kind of got back to the way they were feeling before the last stretch of the season, and they were getting a little bit tired. I think they play almost 45 games already. I think 43 games they've played. So they needed some kind of so they needed some kind of reset button, and I think they found it, and were able to kind of turn that around, and they seemed like they were, I stuck around for a little while at practice today, and they seemed like they were real confident and loose and, playing well, and obviously their record shows they can play pretty well, so, I wouldn't be surprised again to see them, make a run at a state championship, and obviously, the region championship thing that they lost was disappointing for them, but their coach Tim Fanning pointed out that, even last year when they won their second straight state championship, they also did not win the region championship that year, so they don't seem to want to let that hold them back any, and they're going to go in full force tomorrow when they host Bessemer at 4:30.
That's good. It's good to hear that they've got the leadership that would take the initiative to call that 6:30 practice and maybe find that release point that they needed. But let's shift gears a little bit, Chris. You and I talked a little bit earlier about this. You wrote in your blog a day or so ago about all the signings in the Chattahoochee Valley area this year, and there have been a ton of them. And you and I talked a little bit about it on the phone, and been kind of keeping up with everybody that's signing to go here and go there, and in football, in basketball, in volleyball. I mean, you name it. People are signing left and right to play at the next level, whether it's a junior college level or at a four-year school. And what are you seeing out there as kids get an opportunity to play at the next level?
Well, actually, just probably an hour ago, I got a couple of phone calls from coaches, and a Central boys basketball player, Shantuan Levy, is going to sign tomorrow. They just announced with St. John's River State College, which is in Pulaska, Florida. It's a pretty good team out there. And 6 Kendrick girls basketball players from this year's team are going to sign on Monday, I believe. So that's seven more to add to that list. And I think I mentioned to you yesterday, and it's on my blog if anyone wants to go check it out. That's at ledgerinquirer.com/Chris White. There's a list. I posted a list of all the signings. I like to keep a running list of it. And I think this year we're right at about 100 already, which is a little bit ahead of where we were last year this time. I think in all of 2010 there were 128 signings, for the Columbus and Phoenix City area. And this year we're already at about 100. There's 7 more coming next week, and there's plenty more going to be, between now and the end of the school year, and then also including the first few months of next school year. I'm sure we'll have a few more then too. So there's a lot more to come, and it's actually pretty interesting that I've had a lot of people who've lived here a long time, and some old-time coaches who are retired now, who said that every year it seems like we get more and more signings. Every year just keeps adding up, and I wish somebody would have kept some kind of running list or better statistics of it, but hopefully I can at least start that in the future. People can compare how the area is doing, but it seems like in just about every sport, Columbus and Phoenix City is getting recognized, more and more outside of the Atlanta area. I think some coaches are finding out this is a real good spot to find some athletes, and they're recruiting it pretty heavily in a lot of different sports. And there's also a pretty good group of coaches around here that do a real good job of putting together everything from video packages to using the internet to get these recruiting profiles out there of kids, and coaches who run recruiting kind of seminars and services that bring in college coaches to meet these kids. So I think it's a mix of some college coaches realizing the talent that's kind of tucked away in this corner of the state, as well as a lot of the coaches getting more and more proactive and using things like the internet to really get their kids out there and market them and find them those scholarships.
Yeah, it's a testament to the job that the coaches, not only the athletes, but the coaches do a great job of, number one, coaching their kids and giving them a lot of success, but number two, helping them find the right place and making contacts for them. You know, if you don't have a coach that's helping you do a little bit of work and making some contacts for you and are willing to make a phone call every now and then, some of these kids are not going to get found. And in a city this size with as many schools as we have and as many high school athletes as we have, a number of times there are kids who may not be as have as much name recognition as others, but they may be quality athletes who could help somebody at the next level, at least at the junior college level. And I think the coaches here in the Columbus area do a really nice job of getting their names out there and pitching those kids to these situations so that they can get an opportunity to show themselves at the next level. And plus, you're going to have a lot of kids that are going to mature a little bit more as they get out of high school and they get into that college level, who might not have had the numbers in high school, but when they get to the college level and their body continues to mature a little bit and they get in a structure or a little different structure, they may turn out to be an outstanding collegiate athlete. So we've seen that time and time again with a lot of folks. So it's just a testament to how good we have it here in the Columbus area. We're very blessed to have a lot of talent in this Chattahoochee Valley area.
Yeah, I've told people that all the time, but I've only lived here about 2.5 years, and before I got here, I really didn't. I'd probably never even heard of Columbus before that, but I came in and right away I was surprised at how many recognized athletes came out of here, and covering high schools right away, I realized too the level of talent around here, and I think some people may be a little bit spoiled and don't realize it and don't appreciate it maybe, but there is a lot of talent tucked away here, and like you said, I think a lot of credit, and I get to see it firsthand, a lot of credit goes to the coaches who are putting out these videos and making these coaching contacts. And I go out to all different kinds of practices and see all different coaches, and so many times I go out on their planning period, or I'll find them after school, and they're just hiding in their office making highlight videos for their kids, and they're working the phone trying to find scholarships. So everyone knows the kids work pretty hard and they deserve it. And it comes down a lot of times to which coaches want to put their kids' names out there the most and get them in front of the most coaches, and those are the kids that are going to get the scholarships.
Right. Well, Chris, man, thanks, and we're looking forward to having you on as a regular guest each week to talk about what's going on in the world of high school sports here in the Chattahoochee Valley area. We appreciate you being on with us. Go cover that soccer game, and we'll look forward to reading about that tomorrow in the Ledger-Enquirer. And again, remember, you can read Chris's blog every day at ledgerenquirer.com/Chris White. Is that right, Chris?
Yep, that's right. ledger-enquirer.com/Chris White.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot. Hey, you're listening to In the Game High School Sports Magazine. We'll be right back on Boomer 95.3.